In this section, we're going to talk about classification of agency relationships. Hey, this is going to be short and sweet. It's probably good for 1 point on the exam. It should be a simple one. So please listen closely here, study, move on. All right. Classification of agency relationships. They usually fall into one of three categories: universal agency, general agency, or special agency. So I'm going to give you a brief definition of each, and then I'm going to tell you when they might be used. So when you think about a universal agent, the fact that a person is empowered to act most completely in every detail for another party. So, for example, in a universal agency, you're probably going to be able to sign documents. You're probably going to be able to go and get money from a bank and put it into another area for another party. When I think of a universal agency, I think of an unlimited power of attorney. Now, let's go ahead and cut to the chase. This is not very common in real estate. As a matter of fact, as an agent, I would probably steer away from this unless absolutely necessary. Or if you're in a situation where you were working with a family member who had the diminished ability to act, maybe you would work under a universal agency for that. So, universal agency, think unlimited power of attorney. This is rare in real estate transactions. So, let's go to the next one: general agent. Now, when I think about a general agent, I think about a limited power of attorney. Now, what do I mean by limited power of attorney? Well, you're given broad discretion, but in a very narrow field. To make this clear, let me give you two examples of when you might see general agency come up. It's still actually fairly rare, but let me give you two cases where you might see it come up for test purposes. One, when you join a firm, you will enter into a general agency relationship with your firm. So, for example, when I go to work with ABC Realty says, Chris, you have broad discretion out there in the field of general brokerage. So that means I can go out and I can list properties. I can work with buyers. I don't have to come back every time and get my broker in charge's signature to do that. I have the authority to act on behalf of the firm when I'm signing buyer agency agreements and listing agreements. General agency relationship. But what the company says is broad discretion in general brokerage. But when you come back to the office, don't come in here and try to run the office. We will take care of that. So it's not your job to run the employees and things like that. Your job is general brokerage. Okay. The other place that you're more likely to see it on the exam, a general agent, a property manager is sometimes referred to as a general agent. And if you say, why? Broad discretion, narrow field, think about this. A property manager oftentimes is going to be given the authority to sign leases and actually write checks in the name of the landlord that they work for. And so that's a pretty broad discretion in doing that. Every time that someone wants to lease a property, they don't need to fly out to where the owners are. They just vet the person themselves and they sign the agency agreements. They collect the monies, they write checks to pay bills and things like that. I would consider that to be a general agency relationship. Property managers. Not saying that property managers can't be special agents, but it's more common that you would see them in a general agency relationship. Broad authority, very narrow field. And then finally, historically, the test question has been, how do agents act when they're working for buyers and sellers? And if that's the case, here's the answer: special agents. In a special agent, listen to this definition: a special agent, you're performing one well defined task. A special agent performs one well defined task. So if I'm working with a buyer, that well defined task is simply that my job is to help them find a property that they want to purchase. And if I'm working for the seller, the job that I have been employed for is to see if I can find them buyers for the property. That's the well defined task. Having said that, once I find the buyer, you find the seller, they're going to end up contracting with each other. Here's why that's important. As a special agent, you generally do not have the authority to sign on behalf of your client. You will see test questions on this that have to do with, well, can my buyer's out of town when a very popular property comes up? Can I just simply go and sign my buyer's name to buy that property? Well, absolutely, you can't do that unless you have entered into some type of power of attorney with your client that gives you the possibility of doing that. But I will tell you, our standard buyer agency agreements and our listing agreements do not give the agents the authority to sign on behalf of their client. Special agent, one well-defined task. Once I perform that task, our relationship is over. Doesn't mean I don't like you anymore. Doesn't mean I'm not going to send you a calendar for the rest of your life trying to get your business in the future. But just because you did a transaction with me in this case when you were looking for your house does not obligate you in the future to have to use me when you sell your house. It was one thing, one well-defined task. When it's over, our agency agreement is over. Universal agency, general agency, special agency. If the test question is how do buyer's agents and seller's agents typically work, it is in fact special agency. One point of comment here, I should have brought this up just a little bit earlier, but if you ever see the word attorney in fact on the exam, they're referring to a power of attorney. So if you ever see just a vocabulary word, attorney in fact, think power of attorney, and you're going to be okay on that.